Hey guys, it's Archon. So recently on the live stream, we've been doing some testing on the public test realm for patch 1.0.8, just trying to find the most efficient farming route come the patch. So as you probably heard, patch 1.0.8 will be increasing the mob density in Acts 1, 2, and 4. So instead of just farming Act 3 over and over again, probably keep steps level 2 over and over again, we'll now be able to farm on Acts 1, 2, and maybe 4 because of the increased mob density. And so we've just gone through, looked through all the zones in those acts and tried to find the most efficient areas and then put together some routes so that you guys have some options to farm when the patch comes out. Now, if you just want to farm one zone over and over again, there's two places that have really good mob density. The Weeping Hollow in Act 1, which is right outside New Tristram if you take the northwest gate out of town. That has incredibly good mob density, and they're all zombies, about the easiest mob type in the game. And then slightly better mob density, but also slightly harder mob types in Realm of Shadow, which is the middle of the three Zoltan Kuhl archives, so it's right at the end of Act 2. And that one, again, it has a little bit better kills per hour, but there are some mean mob types, whereas in Weeping Hollow, it's all zombies. It's really easy. So if you want to, you could just farm one of those zones over and over again. You'd probably get pretty good experience and a lot of legendaries if you're on a high MP. But if you want to do a whole route, we've put together one on Act 1 and one on Act 2 that just strings together a couple of good zones that I think would make for an efficient farming route. So the route we found on Act 1 starts in Festering Woods. Festering Woods is just a good place to get stacks because you have the Crypt of the Ancients and Warrior's Rest in there and then some elite packs scattered around. You can get 3 to 5 stacks starting out there. After Festering Woods, go to Fields of Misery. Fields of Misery is huge and now it has pretty good mob density as well. Also in Fields of Misery, there's a few dungeons, like really good dungeons. In fact, probably the best mob density we found yet is in a place called Decaying Crypt in Fields of Misery. Now, it's not there every time, so you can't count on it, but anytime you find a dungeon in Fields of Misery, actually, anytime you find a dungeon in any of these places, check it out because they've really buffed up the dungeon's mob density. There are some that suck, but you might as well check it out and then you can kind of remember which ones to go into. But Decaying Crypt and a few others in Fields of Misery are really good, and we just do a whole perimeter around Fields of Misery because the zone itself also has good mob density. And then after there, we go to Weeping Hollow. That was the place I mentioned before. Probably has the best mob density in Act 1 right now. We do a full clear there. And then we finish up by going to Halls of Agony level 2 and following that all the way down through the Cursed Hold and all the way to the Butcher, and we kill the Butcher as well. Now you could take out Halls of Agony level 2. The only reason you might is because the mob types from then on are a little bit harder than they are before that point. So it would still be a fine run if you did Festering Woods, Fields of Misery, Weeping Hollow, but then it's up to you. If you want to tack on Halls of Agony level 2, still really good mob density, just a little bit harder. So that is probably the best farming route we've found yet. It's a really good one. Act 2, we have a good farming route, but it's slightly less efficient and the mob types are a lot harder. So if you're just looking for a good efficient farming route, I think that's the one. In Act 1, Festering Woods, Fields of Misery, Weeping Hollow, Halls of Agony level 2 through to the Butcher. But if you wanted to try out Act 2 or just have some change of pace, we did come up with a good route there. Now, of course, like I said before, you could just farm Realm of Shadow over and over again, but if you want a full route, this one we found to be pretty efficient. Start in Black Canyon Mines. You can usually get 2 or 3 elite packs really fast there. From Black Canyon Mines, go to Dahlgur Oasis. Dahlgur Oasis mob density has improved. It's not amazing, but there are some dungeons there like the Forgotten Runes that have really crazy mob density, and you can just start from the Dahlgur Oasis waypoint and walk straight to the Ancient Waterway, which is usually in like the top right corner. And any dungeons you find along the way, kill them, or go in them, kill everything in them. But don't spend too much time in Dahlgur Oasis. It's not the highest mob density. You're just using it as a pathway to the Ancient Waterway and to find some dungeons. And then go into the Ancient Waterway, do the western and eastern channels. Both of those areas are really high mob density. And from the Ancient Waterway, you're going to go to the Archives of Zoltan Kuhl. And you do all 3 Archives of Zoltan Kuhl, the Unknown Depths, Storm Halls, and then, of course, Realm of Shadow. They're all really good, but the Realm of Shadow is especially good because it has those little shade guys all over the place. There's tons of them, and they still give decent experience and loot, so you can get really crazy kills per hour. Probably the highest mob density in the game at this point. There are a few other areas in Act 1 and 2 that we tested, but they didn't make the final route, either because the mob density wasn't high enough or because it just took too long to get there. For example, the Caverns of RNA right before you fight the second boss in Act 1. It's pretty good mob density in there, lots of spiders all over the place, but it just takes a long time to get there. You have to go to Wortham and then make your way there. So we ended up taking that out, as well as Cemetery of the Forsaken. The crypts just didn't get much of an improvement. Highlands Crossing. They do have some good dungeons in Southern Highlands, but the area itself just isn't good mob density. And then in Act 2, the sewers just weren't quite good enough. Desolate Sands wasn't quite good enough, and Vault of the Assassin doesn't seem like it got an increase either, so we just took out Desolate Sands altogether. As well, also Act 4 just does not seem to be good enough. The mob density was increased by a little bit, I believe, but the mob types there are just horrible. So it still doesn't seem like Act 4 is going to be the best place to farm, but definitely try out that Act 1 and Act 2 farming route. Again, I think the best one we found was in Act 1, just Festering Woods, Fields of Misery, Weeping Hollow, Halls of Agony level 2. Hopefully that helps you guys out in farming in patch 1.0.8, and you can be a little bit more efficient and finally get a change of pace. You won't have to farm Act 3 over and over again. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please hit subscribe if you did. Stop by the live stream when you have some time, and I'll have another video for you soon.